So this just dropped seemingly out of nowhere. I saw it pop up on YouTube earlier in the week, and at the time, I didn't even know that Cradle of Filth was doing something new. Apparently, this is one of 2 new tracks off of an otherwise live album. So it's kind of a standalone single, even though there is technically a record attached to it. It's the song and video for She Is a Fire. I'm actually not sure at all what to expect from this. A little bit of background before I get into it. I listened to Cradle and loved them as a teen and as a young adult. Like, they were one of my gateway bands into metal and into black metal especially. And Thornography was the first full record that I heard by them, and it's still a personal favorite of mine. I also heard a little bit of Nymphetamine, but I heard Thornography first. I remember that I picked up that album at Best Buy, and no, it was actually at FYE, and I just was playing the hell out of that one. And even though I consider Cruelty and the Beast and Midian to be the 2 best records by them, objectively speaking, Thornography always held a special place in my heart. But yeah, I haven't heard much newer Cradle at all. Like, I would say that the newest record that I heard by them, from beginning to end, was Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder, and that was all the way back in, like, 2008. I can't believe it's been so many years since I've really sat down and listened to, like, a new record by them. But I just was less impressed with, like, what little bits of their later work that I heard. Like, I heard a few of their songs off of Darkly, Darkly, Venus Versa. I heard a few songs off of, I think it was called Hammer of the Witch. That was one of the recent albums, and I wasn't all that impressed. I'm not sure how to put it, but I just kind of feel like Cradle lost something over the years musically. Like, they used to be fantastic, and I just feel like they haven't really hit that sweet spot for me when it comes to, like, their newer material. So I really hope that they've gotten their magic back this time around, because Danny is a lyrical genius, and I always thought that his band was talented as hell. But yeah, I'll go into it with an open mind and give you my honest thoughts and impression. But first, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on socials and Patreon, link down below. If you join Tier 4 on Patreon, you can make a song request and guarantee a reaction to it as soon as possible. So if you want that VIP access, definitely check it out. Alright, Cradle of Filth, She Is a Fire. Let's see what all the hype is about. Let's check it out. Alright, I like that cold feeling synth in the background there. Okay, that was an abrupt switch up. Weird, but I'm still invested. I like the guitar. Okay, briefly, just some initial thoughts. I do like the bite to Danny's voice. Like, part of my, I guess, personal criticism of their newer work that I have heard is that Danny's voice seemed a little bit like he was leaning too much just on, like, his high-pitched screams, and he wasn't doing that, like, really throaty growl that he's also so good at. That he especially used on a lot of their earlier work, and I'm hearing it here. So that's already makes me have a little bit of a higher hope for this song. We are off to a solid start. Like, I like the little hookiness to the guitar. Yeah, the only weird thing that I'll comment on is that the intro, there was a very abrupt change in sound and style there. It was almost like they started playing like a completely different song, and then at the last minute they're like, no, but wait, let's do it differently. If that makes sense. I don't know. To me, it was just an odd choice. But other than that, I am invested, and I am interested to see where this goes. Let's continue. Cool fucking video, too. Reminds me of something Behemoth would do. Okay, I'm fucking liking this quite a bit. excellent matching of his vocals to this guitar riff. Okay, I think they're back. I think they're fucking back. Seriously, like this is a solid song. Like, this takes me back. This is like a little bit of mix of like old school with like new school Cradle. But in addition to that, this so far is much more guitar oriented than I'm used to from this band. Like, this Cradle has always had good guitar work where and when it counts, but they have never been what I consider to be a highly guitar oriented band. They've always seemed to gravitate more strongly to the synth, to the atmosphere, and of course to Danny's vocals. But this is very guitar heavy, and everything that the guitar is doing is fantastic. And it is being paired so well with Danny's vocals. And I feel like Danny is really showing his full repertoire here. Like, he's really broadcasting his range in this song. Like, he's hitting so many different notes and styles and textures with his voice, from lows to highs. I don't know. I feel like Danny got reinvigorated for this song. Like, there just seems to be like a fresh energy here. And this band has been around for like at least 2 decades, right? Probably 3 decades, actually. And it's just, this is what I wanted to hear. This is what I was hoping for. And more than that, it's something new, even for Cradle, when it comes to the guitar. You know, how focused it is on the guitar. I am very pleased so far. Let's continue. Like, I love what the guitar's doing right here, too. Sinister atmosphere there, too. I dig it. Oh shit, are we getting a guitar solo and a Cradle song? Hell yes. I'm loving this. Okay, I know I'm pausing it a lot, but I got a lot to say, because I really like everything about this. The visuals, the music, Danny's approach with his vocals. Like, and one of my problems with like melodic extreme metal, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to categorize Cradle as, melodic, symphonic, extreme metal, when you add those elements into the music, sometimes you sacrifice heaviness, and sometimes that has been the case for Cradle, especially on their later, sometimes more popular songs. With this, there's blast beats, there's heavy guitar riffs, and there's still the atmosphere, there's still the piano parts, the synth parts. You don't lose that aspect, but you gain a certain heaviness that sometimes, historically, this band has lacked, you know, in terms of my taste. Like, I like when bands go really heavy, really brutal, really savage, and this particular song has that. I'm digging it. I really am. This imagery is awesome. Yes. Absolutely love the song. Oh, a little echo at the end there. It's a nice touch. Okay, this is the first thing I want to say. First of many things. You know how, like, when Amphetamine first came out, that piano sound became, like, very iconic? Like, dun 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 dun. And, like, everyone who listened to Cradle at that time period, who was listening to their newer stuff, everyone knew immediately, once they heard that piano part, oh shit, it's Amphetamine, you know? I feel like this song is going to become iconic within their discography. That particular part during this one, dun 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 dun, like that part is already like stuck in my head. It's like cemented in place. This is definitely going on a playlist. This has so much going for it. It has heaviness. It has melody. It has epicness. They're fucking back. Cradle is seriously back. Like, maybe I will go back and listen to the last couple of records. Maybe they've been back for a while. Maybe they've been, you know, hitting their prime all over again. Reinvigorated, rejuvenated, whatever you want to call it. But they're definitely back in full force, at the very least, with this song. And I absolutely want to explore more from them going forward. Like, this gets me really excited, because when I first started filming today, yeah, like I prefaced it by talking about how I, you know, wasn't all that impressed with some of their later work that I heard from like 2010 onward. And I kind of had my reservations about this. Like, yes, I did go into it with an open mind, but I knew it was a possibility that I might have had to, you know, be heavily critical of this, that I wouldn't necessarily like it, that I would kind of be like, this didn't make me feel anything, this didn't move me all that much. And of course I would have been absolutely honest if that were the case. But that's not the case. I fucking love this. This is really good. It's going on some kind of playlist. It's definitely getting re-listened to. I'm going to be going on a train trip starting tomorrow night to Chicago. It's a work trip. And this is going to be a song that I know I'll be playing during that trip, that I'll be jamming to. Like, oh, man. This proves that Cradle is... They have the musical ability and talent to, you know, really have the longevity of the musical greats, you know? Like, 20, 30 years later, this is where they're at. They're coming out with something that makes me feel chills. It gets me so excited, even when I had my doubts and reservations. That's saying something. The blast beats were great. The drumming and the guitar both did a great job at matching Danny's vocal parts during each respective part of the song. And they had such a sense of compatibility with his vocals, no matter what stylistic choice he used, whether he was doing his, you know, lower growls or his high-pitched screams, his squealing screams, his shrieks. No matter what creative decision he went with his voice, the guitar work and the drumming complemented it. And on top of that, they both managed to be really brutally heavy while being paired with atmosphere, with synth, with softer, dare I say, a beautiful, even a little bit epic piano parts. And no heaviness was lost in this particular song. And this is something that they did pull off very well in their early work. On Cruelty and the Beast, on Midian, even on like Damnation in a Day, which I know not many people care for that much. I actually do like a sizable chunk of that record. But they managed to pull off that combination best on their earlier parts of their discography. So the fact that they're bringing that ability, that capability back, and that they're still so adept at it, that's really, really cool. This just is an excellent song in my opinion. Surprisingly so, and I'm glad. You know, this was something that defied my expectations, and also I have to say again, the visuals, the aesthetic when it comes to the video was also fucking awesome. Absolutely love this. And again, I think they released 2 new songs. I don't know if there's going to be a music video for that other song. I don't even know what that other song is called. Clearly, I'll have to look into this. I'll have to research this new live album, see what it's all about, because I've only heard little snippets of information. But if that new song comes out with a new video, I'll probably react to it, and I'll probably react to it even if that's not the case, because I'm just really excited for Cradle in a way that I haven't been in at least like 10 years. So I'm so glad I decided to check this out, and I'm so glad that this surprised and impressed me. That's what I have to say about the music, guys. And the only little criticism that I'll maintain is that at the very beginning, the intro was kind of weird. Like, it seemed like they were trying to go for something different, and then they switched it up at the last minute. It was weird, and I don't necessarily know that that little part worked. But everything from then on absolutely did, and they really killed it. So that's where I'm at with the music. Now let's get to the lyrics. She will wring from you all the secrets you keep locked away in sadness, and she will play where dark pathways of the mind stumble blindly into madness. Her eyes are filled with the weight of mountains, desire spurting from her sacred fountains. Red hot is her inclination, I beg incineration. She came walking from the flame, burning with dark inspiration, she is a fire. As far as Venus goes, she twists the bind between the marble and the sculptor. Sleight of waist, sleight of mind, fates refined, spells to shelter her from vultures. A furnace heat of need surmounting. That's cool wordplay. She melts my beaten heartbeat down in counting. Weaponized, galvanized, even in mortal guise, death would tremble just to take her, like a calm sea neath which the kraken unfurls its deafening limbs. She's a smoldering psalm, poised to make good on ignitable sins. See, now this is what I'm talking about, and I just reacted to something the other day where, I don't know, man, like, it dealt with a similar thing, with a lustful, kind of magnetic attraction to a woman, but I did criticize that particular song for not approaching basically a subject that's been done to death, for not approaching it in a clever or creative way. And while I won't say that this song does it in a way that's especially groundbreaking, we do at least get some more potent visuals combined with Danny's clever writing and wordplay. And on that note, I'll also add, as a slight criticism, in all fairness, that this isn't among Danny's best writing. It definitely is a lot more straightforward than I've come to expect from him. But I also know that he has done more simple songs before when it comes to the writing, like Nymphetamine, for example. And within this, there still is good writing. And you can't blame me for holding Dani Filth to the high standard that he himself established. Because a lot of Cradle fans probably say this, and some people probably think that it's hyperbole, even though it's not. But a lot of fans who appreciate Danny's writing say that it's Shakespearean in quality. And I completely agree. The man is a lyrical genius. There's no two ways about it. And he's an absolute master at his craft. And that's why it really gets me when it comes to people who can't stand his vocals. Like, that's perfectly valid. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But even if you can't appreciate that, at least appreciate the brilliance of his lyrics. And so this to me is more in the category of Danny barely scratching the surface of what he's capable of. It's more of a tease of his talent than anything else. But he still does a decent job of talking about this kind of fiery nymphette, this toxic but extremely attractive kind of woman that will burn you in the end. But there's so much hot passion in her eyes, and she's so cunning and alluring that she's irresistible. Which is totally a thing, even if it's completely self-destructive, which this song also alludes to. And I do love the way that he ascribes a kind of otherworldliness to her, right? Like she's almost something more than human because of how enticing she seems. Almost like some kind of like a succubus, you know? It says, even in mortal guise, death would tremble just to take her. Which, of course, has a double meaning. And the main chorus says it all. Red hot is her inclination, I beg incineration. She came dancing from the flame, burning with dark inspiration. She is a fire. You know, I will say that a lot of witches, and yes, I do believe in witches in the sense of women that practice witchcraft, and specifically the satanic variety. I'm not talking about crystals and zodiac signs and shit like that. But witches tend to have that effect. And especially when they practice sex magic. You know, the feminine energy is extremely potent. And I know of several real situations where guys were drawn to women who ended up practicing that exact sort of thing. And they got themselves into these really destructive, horrible relationships because they were so consumed with lust over the woman and thought about literally nothing else. And that's not a criticism of witches, by the way. Just that some women, just like some men, use attraction as a means by which to manipulate. And when the other person thinks only with their downstairs brain, that's when they get themselves into trouble. It's like, don't play with fire, right? Like, what was true in your childhood is even truer in your adult life, believe it or not. But yeah, there isn't too much more to glean from these lyrics. I will say that by Cradle standards, they're a little disappointing because I know that Danny is capable of so much more. But by general standards, this still is cleverer and more effective at evoking visuals than other songs that deal with the subject by other artists. And that's one of the areas where Cradle always has really shined, whether it comes to straightforward lyrics or more profound and complex lyrics, is that nevertheless, they're always good. Many times great and many times perfect, but always, at the very least, good. But yeah, there's definitely a liveliness to the wordcraft here and a sense of palpable emotion when he talks about things like her eyes filled with the weight of mountains, desire spurting from her sacred fountains. Yeah, I mean, Dani Filth is an absolute master at crafting poetry with just enough sleaziness, but in this almost really cultured, artistic kind of way. I know that almost sounds like a contradiction, but if anyone can dignify sleaze and smut, it's him. And I don't think that I've ever read a line that he wrote where he described orifices or sex acts that I was disappointed by. Like, there's always something viscerally expressive about the way that he describes these things. So it's still pretty solid, still pretty damn good lyrically. He never fails to impress in some way with his writing. So there are definitely some clever lines here. And even more than that, I really love the music on this. Again, so surprising on so many levels, so impressive. And I feel like that particular piano sound that, kind of felt like the through line in the song, that's going to become very memorable, kind of very iconic overall when it comes to their discography. And so it should be, because it was just very well done, and it's just a proper balance of everything. Heaviness, dark beauty, epicness. Yeah. I hope that they pull off more songs like this. I hope that their other new song is just as good. And for the first time in a long time, I'm very excited to explore more by Cradle. And it's so good that they're really, really back. So that's my opinion on this. I loved it. Once again, going on a playlist. Can't wait to hear this again. And that's about all I have for you in this video. If you guys made it this far, I really appreciate it. And again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Patreon. Again, hop on Tier 4 if you want to make a song request, and make sure that I handle it right away. Much more content on the way. Much love and respect to the Nuclear family. And I will catch you all on the next one.